And now joining us to share her eyewitness account of what happened Saturday at the White House Correspondents Dinner is our Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief, Sarah Roderick-Fitch. Sarah, thank you for taking time, and what a harrowing incident you had to experience and witness firsthand. Thankfully, you're safe. Thankfully, everyone else there is safe as well, and still one person recovering, a Secret Service officer recovering from what we understand. I want you to walk us through what you experienced from getting on the grounds and seeing the level of security up to the moment when you heard the commotion and realized what exactly was happening.
Yes. Well, kind of leading up to the event, there was a lot of security around the event, as you can imagine. It was right around it was off of Connecticut Avenue, which is one of the major streets here in D.C., and that was shut down. As I had to walk about 3 or 4 blocks, which was not exactly ideal. I was in a long evening gown, and it was raining, so it wasn't exactly ideal. So the evening maybe didn't start off so great. But as I walked up, there was a large gathering of protesters across the street from the hotel. So when I entered, we came up to a sort of a checkpoint. There was some security there. So I had to present my ticket, show them, okay, this is who I am. I belong there. And then just went into the hotel. And in the lobby area, there was sort of a photo station, and there were some receptions going on. And there was also guests that were coming in and out. I saw some people coming in with some pizzas. Obviously, they were in civilian clothing and all that. And anyway, and I noticed when I was up there, there were several levels there in the hotel before you get to the actual ballroom. And it was filled because there were over maybe 2,000 attendees at this event.
It's a high-profile event.
Yes, a very high profile.
There's a lot of activity. Yes. There's a lot of big names there. Mm-hmm. I would imagine it's similar to like the convention type of atmosphere, just instead of wearing business casual, people are wearing bow ties and evening gowns.
It was like kind of the equivalent to the Oscars for DC in a way, sort of along those lines. Or the DC people call it the nerd ball. That's what it's, or nerd prom, nerd prom here in DC. That's what it's been always kind of referred to. But I did notice when I was in the lobby, I saw myself 3 protesters being dragged out before the event. And they looked like they had fit in. They had been in evening gowns and whatnot. I'm sure that I don't know, but don't know if they had tickets or if they were staying there at the hotel. I can't imagine that they had tickets because it was very, very difficult to get tickets. I mean, that was really, it was very challenging because this was really this was sort of an exclusive event because the president, this was like his first one that he was going to be speaking at. So there was a really high profile. There was a lot of interest. So it would have been very challenging for someone to get a ticket, but that's very possible. But so they may have been staying there in the hotel. Yes, I'm unsure. That's actually a question that I have about some of those other people. So that was going on. And then there was like going through the similar, several layers. It said that there was receptions, there was a red carpet, there's photo stations. So there was hundreds of us, really thousands of us, just sort of, we were in close quarters. I mean, it was very, we were rubbing elbows. I saw Dana White, past him, all these people. There was a lot of congressmen and senators that were there as well. Some governors, celebrities.
All over the place.
Yes. And we were just all together.
And you got to imagine, I mean, did you feel a sense of security other than just the checkpoint at the beginning to hand your ticket and get verified that way? What was the sense of security?
I did. I mean, you did. You did. I mean, there was a lot of law enforcement present, as you can imagine. And outside, there was National Guard members. There was law enforcement everywhere. Some of them, were in suits, but they were everywhere. And then I got down to the lower level and then going through the magnetometers, just showing my ticket and just, it was very simple, easy, sort of 2 or 3 second process. Went downstairs and then, they're in the ballroom. And then, so we were sitting there, I passed Kash Patel when I went in. So that was kind of interesting. And then about halfway through my salad, that's about as far as I got, was through my salad. I started hearing noises, loud noises, popping noises, definitely a lot of dishes, like clanging of dishes. There's just a lot of commotion going on. And I turned to behind me just to kind of look at the crowd, and I saw, the whole entire ballroom just going down, just seeing everybody going down. And then immediately, the gentleman seated next to me, he lifted up the tablecloth and he just said, "Get down." He kind of pulled me down and went under the table right away. And I was under there for maybe 20, 30 seconds. And then I started hearing a lot of Secret Service agents, because I was near one of the entrances, and they started coming in, and I just started hearing them, shouting, "Go, go!" I started hearing a lot. So I knew at that point, okay, maybe it's a little safer to come out now. So I sort of peeked out and sort of lifted my head up, and then saw more stuff happening. Seeing all the Secret Service. I mean, I don't know how many, dozens and dozens of just agents coming in. And then I saw Secretary Kennedy being taken away. And he had a real pain look on his face. I was concerned that he had been shot. He may have been hit at the time, because the Secret Service agents were sort of dragging him. I mean, he really looked, he was just like shell shocked. It was a image that I'm never going to forget. And then I just noticed, tactical team Secret Service coming in, big guns, and just, and we, because I'm here at the White House and with the president, you realize they really only come out when something's really big is happening. So at that point, I knew, other than just hearing these sounds and everything like that this was a real situation. This wasn't just, protesters had gotten in. Initially, maybe I thought, okay, maybe this is just protesters and making a ruckus, and there was a scare. When I saw that,
it wasn't somebody popping balloons off in the corner or anything like that.
No, it wasn't. We knew that. And like I said, once I saw them coming in, I knew it was real. I knew this was a really serious threat. And then Secret Service agents, I saw them in the center of the room. Wasn't sure if somebody was shot over there, because they were walking on tables. I'm hearing dishes and everything else just, crashing the ground and all of that. It was a lot of commotion, a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming. You can imagine. I mean, you said it was over 2,000 people in this ballroom, and it was, it was a huge moment. And so I was watching them, and they were pulling their protectees out. That's what they were going in to the center. I saw Hegstaff being removed. He walked out. He was very defiant when he walked out of that room. And, he was not even ducking. I mean, a lot of the other dignitaries, they were keeping their heads down and getting them out of there as quickly as possible. And the president did remain on scene. Now, was in a very secure location, because this hotel is used a lot for the president. And it was where Reagan was shot. It is sort of known, the nickname here in D.C. for years has been the Hinckley Hilton, people, because there's two Hiltons. So that's kind of the running joke.
Hinckley being the man
who shot Reagan. Yes, who shot Reagan. So this hotel had already had some history with this. And so there were rooms that were very secure for the president, vice president, other members of Congress. The Speaker of the House was also there to go in. They held them for a long time. And the president did want to come out. We thought that this might resume. Not exactly sure how it was going to resume, but we were told they were trying to get it to resume. And then it really became impossible, because it just had become so, kind of chaotic, and people spread out.
And definitely a crime scene.
Yes, absolutely.
The suspect he's in custody. Charges are going to be filed today. He's reportedly going to be in federal court. But Sarah, as we see you standing in front of the White House there, what kind of conversations are you hearing? What kinds of security upgrades are you witnessing, if any, after Saturday's incident?
Definitely when I walked in, it was much more. Now, we also have today starting today is King Charles and Queen Camilla. So that is kind of compounding all of this. In the background now, I'm just hearing some music. They're practicing for their arrival. So that is in addition to what happened on Saturday night. So I can't really say, hey, is this a result of Saturday night thing, or if this is also because this is going to be this massive state visit. But the security is much more, complex. They are definitely much more on guard. Secret Service absolutely seems a little bit more tense, not as relaxed, a little bit more they're definitely more on guard. And here at the White House, we're close knit community here, the press corps here at the White House. And, this hit us, this impacted all of us. And when I walked in here today, if we didn't see each other Saturday night, or we got lost from each other, we just, gave each other hugs. How are you doing? I've talked with the people in the press office, just making sure we're just all checking in on each other. How are you doing? I'm glad to see you're okay. And, I think it's really sort of, brought us even a little bit closer together, sort of a bonding ceremony, even between the administration and the press. I think this was sort of a really interesting, unique moment. But the press secretary, Caroline Levin, who is due any day now, she didn't intend on doing another press briefing, but she will be holding one today So we anticipate learning maybe some more details about the investigation, possibly where it stands, and maybe other security upgrades. I know the president is really pushing hard for the ballroom, which would give a lot more, give the Secret Service more control over any sort of venue, because the hotel, they couldn't control, hey, the hotel rooms, that was large. It's one of the largest hotels in the DC area. So it'll be interesting to see what we learned today from this briefing.
There's a lot of updates that we're going to be getting, and I encourage people to stay with thecentersquare.com, get the newsletter, and stay up to date. Sarah Roderick-Fitch, DC Bureau Chief for the Center Square, greatly appreciate that you are safe and that others are safe. And, we do this job thinking we're going to be witnesses to history, but being that up close and personal as a witness to this historic moment, definitely something it's got to be kind of a bittersweet type of situation. So appreciate you sharing your story with us.